I always like separated these two things. I just compartmentalized, like, oh, this is a hobby, and you know, a separate art form. But that's kind of crazy because in my career, I've learned so much about how light and color and focal points tell stories.
It's time for a scene change.
Hey everybody, welcome to Scene Change.
Hi everybody.
Hey Danny, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I dug out the Scene Change mug, so I'm really ready now, dude. This is like,
you know what happened to mine? I didn't tell you. I didn't want to break your heart, but it broke.
oh yeah, well,
Smashed,
all these
smashed on the ground. Yeah.
all these products that we order ourselves are they're not as robust as the diner
the diner
mug. Yeah,
like they weigh like 4 pounds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how are you? How's your week been?
The week's been good. I leave for New York on Thursday.
Oh, that's cool.
So
for
I'm
work or
for that.
for
a little
fun?
Yeah, for work, for a comedy special, and then
Oh, that's cool. That'll be fun. I hope there's a lot of comedy specials going on right now. We need some laughter. We need some good jokes, and that's good, man. I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, you've had some live camera work experience in your day.
I have some that has been canceled since, some that's some that's been like pre-canceled probably because it's not even mainstream enough. I don't know, but it's fun to do anything live, and especially when you get to kind of hear somebody stand up and enjoy it at work.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
It is fun. When it's funny, it's good. It's like, oh, I'm laughing at work, or you're trying not to laugh actually. But
they're definitely doing some really good work out there on the garden right now. So I hope
I don't hear it.
Okay, I hope that it doesn't come through.
It's trash day for me, so there's
perfect.
There was just a truck that just went by. So.
Oh, I didn't hear that at all. Wow, we're like, this studio is tight. Like
nice,
we got
your living room, my bedroom.
I think I paid for the upgrade, so it said something about noise canceling, and I'm like, they got me. But yeah, this is cool. We're finding a way to kind of make, I think, more happen because we're able to do things remotely, which is pretty special because there's so many things that I think I limit myself when I'm like, oh, we have to be in person. But now we really don't have to do everything in person. There's a lot we can do this way. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Makes the podcasting thing a whole lot easier for sure.
Definitely. Should we talk a little bit about our guest today?
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have two Aarons. We're gonna have a quadruple A on the podcast today, and I think
that's my middle name.
Quadruple A.
Yeah. No, Aaron.
Wait, what?
Aaron. Yeah.
Your middle name is Aaron, and I didn't know that?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
Dude, what?
No, yeah. I mean, how often do you tell somebody your middle name?
That's so weird, though, man. I had no idea.
I don't think it's that weird.
So we're gonna have 3 Aarons on the podcast today. Okay, that's very, very special. Okay, wow, I'm really confused now. Well, the cool thing about Aaron is he is just somebody who I've always been able to look up to and kind of learn from, and so to bring him onto the podcast is like a dream for me because he is somebody that I admire and that I've been able to learn a lot from, and I think our audience will learn a lot from him too, especially in the scene change of it where there's so many skills that we kind of take for granted that we have to either develop for what we're doing or find a way to kind of grow into new spaces. Sometimes like the production that we're working on doesn't have as much production as we would like it to, and you fill in the gaps. Like whatever position you're in, you're filling in some of those gaps. And on bigger shows, you don't have to do that, and it's almost like, oh wow, great, I can focus on my specialty here, and really zero in on that. But when things are smaller, everybody's got to do a little bit more. And I think we have to wear more hats as it were, right? And like learn new things. And this show is about appreciating all of those skills and the different ways that they're going to kind of open new opportunities in the future, I think. So,
yeah. Where'd you meet him? What was the first encounter? Man,
that's actually, it may have been, oh, you know what? I totally remember. It was at a union event about like DITs and the digital workflow. And I think it was like a we met before we met kind of thing, because I sat at Aaron's table and he was just like, I got questions. I want to know about this, because he was in film. He was really like experienced with film, and we were just kind of like, what is this new thing? P2 cards. What are these? So it was kind of cool because, I got to maybe ride his coattails a little bit in that experience, and see like somebody who was a few steps ahead of me, how he was navigating the changes in our industry. So I did put a question in our questions about the film to digital transition, which I really want to kind of pick his brain about a little bit, because it's so much a part of what we went through, and also what we're kind of doing all the time now too. Like every single year there's a new piece of equipment that seems to open up new possibilities, and that's something that used to be scary, but I think it needs to be something that we embrace and find a way, like Aaron did in this conference, to appreciate it, and kind of move towards the new where the puck is going, or in that regard. So
nice reference. I like that.
I figured you'd like that. You're a hockey fan, so. And I'm a hockey fan too, but like,
who is it?
I default to your hockey wisdom, as it
it's
were.
The greatest game ever played. Oh man. Well, we'll talk back on that. We'll get back to Aaron Marquette. But,
so
I'm excited. I didn't know about his. I won't ruin it for the audience, but I didn't know about his scene change, his little side thing that he does. That's it's kind of interesting.
It's really cool, and it's like a cool intersection of technical skill, and I think like creative vision that like we have to have with lighting and photography. Like the lighting angle is really fascinating, because we usually are dealing with projected light, right? And in his case now, he's trying to, he'll do a much better job explaining it, but actually represent light without it being projected. It's because it has to be. I'm gonna let him explain it, because it's really unique, and it's a really cool thing that he's got the skills to do, and it's one of those things definitely where you like turn a page and you're like, wait, and you do this whole other thing that's like really, really impressive.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, Aaron, speaking of, I think he's knocking on the Zoom door.
Okay, let's see.
We should let him in. Aaron Marquette is knocking on the meat door.
Okay, let him in through the meat door. Hey, Aaron. How are you?
Aaron! Hi!
What's up, guys?
How are you?
How are you? Yeah, it's been a while, man.
It's been good.
Yeah.
And you're coming to us from New Mexico, is that right?
Yeah, from northwest side of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Very cool. And I can see the colors of the landscape behind you. It's beautiful.
My wife.
Yeah, well, this is a colorful show, and we want to include as much color as possible. I am really excited about today's guest, Aaron Marquette is a friend and colleague from way back. I was talking before you got here, Aaron, about how we first met, which you may not recall, but we went to the same Local 600 DIT event where we sat at the same table, and I got to kind of hear all of these people who had a lot more experience than me talking about the transition from film to digital. And it was really pretty cool because it was a big change and we were all kind of being tossed about by it. But it was nice to meet somebody who I'm like, okay, he has a lot more experience than me, and I can kind of follow the lead of somebody who's been here before. But
you were
yeah.
I'm right.
What's that?
Were you at Panavision at that time?
I was, yeah. That's why I got to go. It was through kind of Panavision that I found out about it, because I wasn't in the union yet at that point. So,
okay.
Yeah, I was very intimidated.
A while ago.
Yeah, it was. Aaron Marquette and I got to work together as operators on a regular live music show where he modeled patience and resilience for me under duress. I've learned from Aaron the importance of separating emotion from negotiations and how to value your time and professionalism when dealing with inconsistent expectations in a changing environment. Aaron has worked on credits including Workaholics, Taken 2 and 3, Chelsea Lately, Extra, Poker Face, and Eddington. Welcome to Scene Change, Aaron.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Danny.
So,
Aaron Marquette, I completely forgot about Taken 3. Do you remember the Day I Day played on that?
Oh, were you loading film, or were you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the day when we shut down the freeway and we needed there's 10 cameras or something and we needed 3 loaders. Is that right?
I was on a day right before that where your loader went missing.
Oh.
I jumped in. I had to jump in the last minute, and it was 9 cameras, but we were at USC.
wow.
Okay.
And we had the discussion of how do we do this, and it was I think the solution was 2 or 3 loaders.
Wow.
But that show was crazy because every day was just a massive undertaking.
Do you remember how many cameras we broke on the?
No. Go. You tell us. Tell that story.
Bad. It was bad. So they shot the all the principal photography in Europe. They shot on Arri film cameras, and then because they were a French crew coming over to the U.S., they felt like. I mean, who is that, right? Maybe the DP, or I don't know. But they were saying that they wanted it to look more American, so it had to be shot on Panavision cameras.
Right.
But then oh, you just wanted to destroy the American cameras.
Oh. That's funny.
We had some, I don't know if you remember, we had some silly things happening that day.
Yeah.
They put a 35 millimeter camera, a little, I don't remember which one it was, a little one though, and they put it inside a crash housing, big old, steel box, and it was misjudged as far as where it should be, and the stunt car landed on it and pushed it 50 yards. And when we came up to it, they have the little viewing window in the crash housing to get your footage. There was actually film coming out of the viewing window.
Oh my gosh.
And the operators and first assistants were laughing, and then the loaders and seconds were like, "Oh no, what do we do?" Well, we one of our day players used a quick release inside a crash house.
Oh no.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, you got to use a dovetail. Just lock
You
it
don't
down.
need to quickly release.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well,
Live and learn.
the rules of the show, is this a show where we name drop, or are we ambiguous about stuff that we've worked on?
I think you drop the names that you're proud to affiliate with, and if you want to talk about some hardships that were not as fun to deal with, it's always nice to leave some ambiguity to protect the innocent, right?
I like that. Are you guys fans of taking selfies with actors?
I don't do it very often.
Not really.
I'll break my own rule occasionally for somebody that I'm like, we have a connection maybe, but
it's got to be like the top 5 or something. But yeah, no, typically not.
I'd rather them ask to take a selfie with me, and it just doesn't happen. I don't know why, but
all the new generation of filmmakers seem so like comfortable just live streaming themselves and taking selfies and all that, and I'm just like, the old crusty mentor in me is like cringing. I don't know what to do, but I guess it's cool now.
Well, there's
right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it helps with publicity in some ways.
Yeah, I think if you're respectful and, it's not kind of too much, then people are getting a little bit more comfortable with that reality. But it's all about respect, right? And you're signing an NDA, so like I don't do any of that. I'm really worried about taking any photos on set because that's our job. I don't want to be undermining or undercutting our own work. So
that's such a gray area too. I remember like when Instagram first came out, I feel like every deal memo introduction email was like, we're not doing the Instagram thing. We want to keep this secret. And then it didn't take long before the next email was like, here's the hashtags you're going to use and take selfies as long as it doesn't, destroy the plot or whatever. And you're like, what is it?
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It's so weird.
I heard some extras talking about being cast based on how many followers they had.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Extras?
None
because they're going to promote it while taking selfies, I guess.
Maybe the extras can just shoot all the EPK stuff.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it starts going that direction. Actually,
they're there already, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Out your phones, guys.
That's a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody's got phones, and we're in ancient Egypt. How is this happening? Well, let me ask you a few questions here, Aaron, if that's all right. How did you get started in the camera department? Like, what was your entry into this whole world that we are a part of here?
Craigslist, circa 2002.
Yes.
Everything, even freebies.
I love that answer. Yeah. It's exactly where I think I used Mandy's or. Right.
But if I could give you a more detail if you wanted more detail than that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when did you find something where you're like, oh, I'm getting my footing. This isn't just a short film that's a friend, helping a friend. This is something that I can see a career path ahead. Yeah.
So I'm just going to turn my volume. So, well, like most filmmakers, as a kid, I was making short films and stuff. And, when I started applying to those kind of things, my first real crew position was doing historic props handling on a BBC show called Days That Shook the World. Oh, and cool. I just in that department, and I did a week in another department set dressing. But I was so bad at my job because I just hung around the DP and the director, just in awe of them. And I think that was a clue, an early clue into where I should be going. But I was really just kind of I was very artistic, I guess. So I thought maybe art department sounded right.
Right.
I mean, I fun making props and stuff. But I after doing that, the props and the set deck stuff, I directed some shorts and a few local commercials, and I produced a little feature. But I really wanted through that process, I felt part of my weakness was in the technical camera experience. So I started working freebie AC gigs, and that's where I met Vincent Wren and Jason King. When I was working with Vincent in Dallas on a little movie, he said the LA people, when they come through and talk to the locals, they always say at the rap party, whenever you get to LA, look me up. And he was the only person. I had 30 people, 30 names when I finally got to LA, and I emailed them all, and there were some people responded, but he was like, "Hey, I'm on a show. I'll get you on as the camera PA," and then that was kind of my my launching point, because I learned to load 35 millimeter, and yeah, just that was my foot in the door.
Oh, I like that example of of emailing and reaching out to people, and really just kind of the diligence it takes to make a connection, because a lot of people are experiencing that in the job market right now. You know, I'm hearing things about 1,000 people or 1,000 job applications before getting one interview, and it's crazy. But if you get that one interview, you don't need to continue looking. You know, the last place you look is where you find it.
And also, I think a part of this is like when you apply less stress to something, it comes easier, you know. And I was focused on directing, even small stuff, and so for me, like asking someone if I could go and like camera PA on their set was like not that big a ask, you know. I didn't realize it then, but it was like the beginning to connections to people who would get me work for a long time, you know.
Definitely.
And how do you feel about that process now, like as far as reaching out to people? And I think that's a conversation I have with people these days. Is like, is a resume even, you know, relevant? Should we cold email people? Do we reach out to them on Instagram? Like, you know, there's like I just hear so many people saying sorry, what was his name? David? Who was the guy that
Vincent?
Oh,
Vincent,
right.
sorry, Vincent. Like this guy Vincent said, you know, reach out to me. You know, some people are so open about it, and even some people have told me before, like, just reach out to them. Like, there's a directory through Local 600, and I don't know. I just always feel kind of funny. But do you get those emails from younger filmmakers too that are reaching out to you that way?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I think, as you guys both know, a big part of this industry is like managing your mental health, your mental state, as well as your financial state, and both of those things have nothing to do with making movies in a way. But like, I think on the mental health part, like beating ourselves up, thinking like, oh, this person didn't respond to my email, they don't want to work with me. But you don't know, right? Like sometimes I don't respond to emails because I just get too many and I'm busy and I don't see it. But maybe I appreciate that somebody messaged me twice to say, hey, you know, I don't want to bug you, just wanted to remind you that I'm still looking for whatever. And I have to remind myself of that too when I'm on a show and a DP that I really respect and admire tells me like, hey, hit me up, you know, and I'll send him a message and then maybe wonder, hey, I wonder if I'll work with him again. But I can't let myself go into that downward spiral, you know, of like, oh, he didn't mean it when he said hit me up or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really important. I think just the persistence, but also knowing like, yeah, it's not personal. Like oftentimes it is just logistics. You know, there's too many things going on, and it's not necessarily a rejection.
Yeah, and I think in general, phone calls like just always smooth things over. So it's weird that we're in this era now where like people are like afraid of talking on the phone or like irritated when their phone rings, because so many times, like if you're just chatting with somebody, it's kind of the same thing as like after you finish a job, do you go to the wrap party or do you just email everyone on the crew list that you're looking for another job? You know, if you go to the wrap party, you just chat with people. This is going to be way more smooth. You're going to get different kinds of information. The information flows easier too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
And it seems less, I guess it's more inviting, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a way more organic way to network, I guess.
Yeah. It's less
That's
like
tricky.
I want something, you know?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just maintaining connections. I think phone calls, just highlighting that for a second, because it is really intimidating when you put so much pressure on a phone call. You're like, oh, how am I going to do this phone call? Maybe just call to see how someone's doing and, you know, check in with them and not make it about work, not make it about the connection that you're trying to foster, but actually caring about that person and what, you know, knowing how they're doing, knowing what's going on in their life, because we put a lot of pressure on things the less we do them.
Yeah, and I think for me, I also try to distract myself. Like if I'm gonna make a call that I think is gonna be a tricky one, maybe I'll just like go outside and start like doing some gardening or something while I'm on that call. Just so I have something keeping me, or just go for a walk while I'm doing the call. Because I do think that your energy level changes a lot if you're just like sat down somewhere, like, worrying about this call,
Right.
Totally. Walking, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just get the blood flowing,
Totally. Yeah. And just walking in general while you're having a conversation, I think is really actually, it's a good way to, like you said, not feel stuck and not feel like, okay, what's the next question? What's the next thing,
My mom tell like what I'm doing when she calls, It's like, I don't know if that's just a mom thing or if that's the normal for like how we interpret voices, but sometimes she'll be like, "Oh, are you just like chilling out right now? Have you gotten up yet today? Are you, like, oh, I thought, how'd you know?
Moms know.
Yeah, they do.
Well, let me ask you another question about the transition from film to digital, because I really respect your perspective on this. You kind of mastered film, and you were really comfortable with some of the, in my opinion, you were really comfortable with some of the most technical parts of a film camera, and troubleshooting it, knowing how to keep those things running. I mean, 9 cameras, just like that intimidates me. Like I've been tasked with 1 camera and the thing jams, and I'm like, well, see you guys, that's it for me. But to go from film to digital and to kind of open up a bunch of new issues with data transfer, computers being fast enough, hard drives not being supplied by productions, even though that's basically your film stock, all these new kind of negotiations and new ways of setting new standards, expectations. It was a whole new world, and you were at the beginning of that. I think you were pretty instrumental, a lot of people like you, in leading people like me into something that was really unknown right after we were like mastering the old thing. And I think we're kind of, like I was saying with Danny earlier, before you came on, just like we're doing that on a yearly basis now. There's so many changes. Every time a new technology comes out, we have to be nimble and adapt to it. So yeah. I guess my question is, how did you navigate that? And what are some of the skills from your film days that made you a better operator in the digital era?
Ooh, those are 2 different. Okay, let me go through the first one. The answer to like how to navigate any transition is like adapt or die, right? That's something that we've seen a lot in this business. It's a state of the art, leading edge technology kind of business. And you can't be one of the guys that's like, I'm just not going to work with this new technology because I don't like it. I saw that when I was working with a lot of first assistants that had their whole career had been on film, and they were hearing about this thing called a red camera or whatever. Of course, those guys, they never wanted to work on the Sony F900s, which were like the episode, Star Wars Episode 2 cameras, the first kind of digital things. But my first professional jobs were shot on HD video, and then and then 16 millimeter, then 35 millimeter. So I kind of did it in reverse. But for me, like at that time when that transition happened, you remember it was like around 2013, I think. And I had been day playing on the show Medium with Patricia Arquette. And they switched over during a hiatus. So,
wow.
yeah.
Oh my.
And the cool thing about that was the load Gretchen, who got me onto that, she was probably seconding at that point, but I was day playing, and I had worked with her on a movie where I was her second assistant. She was a focus puller on a HD video camera, and I knew working with her on that movie in Texas that she wasn't comfortable with video. She just was like a film person. And then so when I finally like got into the union and I was able to work with her like a couple of years later on Medium, she called me up during this hiatus, like a little bit frazzled. I think their whole department was like, "Oh no, like Panavision's going to be training us all in this new Genesis, I think it was.
Yeah.
We have to just start shooting episodes when we come back from hiatus." And she's like, digital, or yeah, can you help? And in my mind, that was a funny thing to be concerned about, because to me, like, video was easier than film.
Right.
They were very different disciplines.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's also, I think, one of the confusing things is there was plenty of video. There's plenty of prosumer options available at the time that I think a lot of professionals were familiar with. And with TV and broadcast, there's so many tools that kind of became normal parts of the cinema toolbox. But we were trying to maybe conform it to the standards that kept things secure and kept things really reliable, more than just possible. And so some of these new cameras were like, oh, here's an amazing image. Good luck processing it, storing it, and distributing it ultimately the way you want to. So I don't know if you kind of can talk about that part of the transition too, how we were, I think, a big part of figuring out what is and is not here. Like, some of these camera companies are literally just sunglass companies that are not fully appreciating all of the accessories, all of the extra pieces that go into securing that product for a producer.
yeah, that part of the transition, like the companies that are actually bringing this new technology as a consumer item instead of as a rental industrial item, I think that unfortunately it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because both of you guys worked with like the Panavision and Arri kits from back in the day, and like you open your AKS case and everything's where it was last time on the last job.
Yeah.
And the stuff is just like, it built like a tank. It survives falls and stuff. And then the new stuff, like, I feel like they didn't consult filmmakers when they were making a lot of that stuff, and that was really for people in that changeover. And for those of us, like you're saying, who were responsible for capturing the image quality, that the whole crew, by the way, is like 100 people putting all their, or more, right, all their skills into capturing this thing in the little box. And now we got to make sure that we are protecting that data. That workflow also wasn't set either.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the place where we met. You were talking about at that was a digital workflow summit. And yeah, that was a challenging time. And I think people were trying really hard to grasp onto the old ways of doing things. Like, this business has been around for 100 years, so why would we change this? But I think what we have all seen in the last 20 years is the business is huge. It's like this big ball, of stuff that's like rolling, and it has tons of momentum, but it's also like constantly changing and evolving. It's like a snowball or something. It's like picking up stuff as it's going. And if we try to believe that like it's going to stay in any state, I think we're misleading ourselves.
Totally. When you decided to jump from ACing to operating, you invested in some specialty equipment. What can you tell us about that process, becoming an owner operator?
Yeah. So when I was an AC, I was against buying gear. I just saw like how much money people were investing in carts and computers and hard drives and all that stuff. And I tried to stay away from it because the rentals were not that good. But then operating is like, it's a whole different animal. You know, it's the best job on a TV or movie set, I think, and everybody thinks they can do it. So the competition is kind of brutal, you
Mm.
know. Um, and you know, like for me, I realized that there's a ceiling to how much I could earn in a day as an operator.
Yeah.
Um, and I saw that people who brought more special equipment and more skills, they were booking more jobs. So I crunched some numbers for several months, and I set like a target ROI of 18 months on electronic stuff and 3 years on support gear. And I just eventually went all in. Um, Probably spent like 50K on a complete gimbal package with a backup rig and wireless video, wireless focus, a fancy cart, and cases and batteries, everything. You
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's endless.
and it did open up a lot of new opportunities for me. And then I hit the ROI early, so I started upgrading and renting things out more. And then it became the question of like, do I want to focus more on renting my equipment and try to become like a little boutique rental company? That's not really why I got into the business.
Right.
So I started focusing more just on operating for union stuff.
Well, I think the focus on tools, but using a kind of a business perspective was really impressive to me, because I didn't have that same focus when I got into my owner operating, and you're going to be, like you said, buying things to serve the tool that you already have. You're going to supplement it, and you're going to need to make upgrades. And ultimately that requires, I think, that business perspective. You have to have a plan and know your numbers in order to be successful with it, because things can change so rapidly.
Yeah, I was surprised when I started doing research on it, how many of my friends, they were operators, had not done any calculations. Some of them didn't even know how much they have spent. Yeah, I remember I consulted with you, Aaron, before I bought anything, and you gave me some good advice on like getting things that were like, for example, if you're buying accessories, I remember one thing you told me was like, try to buy things that are metal and not plastic.
Yeah,
It's gonna
totally.
last long. A little nugget you gave me, but yeah, for me it just made sense to have a like a target date. Like, does this all work out for me? There is one caveat to that though, is like, even though yes, in the end I was able to make back more than I spent on gear and then some. It still burns me up that like if I look at the little like ROI per item, I never made back the amount that I spent on my single channel wireless focus.
Yeah. And it's focus. It's like so important, right? Like what? It's
I
so
guess
frustrating.
the thing is that I bought that when at the same time as all the first assistants were buying their own, hand units. So I brought it to every job because coming up with Steadicam operators and stuff, they always had their own, wireless, but nobody used it really.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I experienced that too. So it's common to us all here. But are there? Let's see. Let's talk about your some of your newer skill set, or at least what you're pursuing in addition to camera work. Painting photorealistic lighting on figurines or on miniatures. How did you begin using an airbrush and doing detailed work?
So I still have a lot to learn because I just started airbrushing in January of 2025, and mostly because I was hired by a studio as a remote artist, and they pretty much required that as one of the skills. Um, and so I was like, yeah, I have an airbrush. And then I was like on YouTube, like figuring out how to use it and stuff. I'm pretty
Nice.
sure they knew because I was asking them for advice too. Um, but this whole thing it began as a hobby in the 90s. like when I was in junior high collecting D&D miniatures. And at that time I was just painting them with solid colors and stuff, just trying to, collect stuff and play with toys. But then I got back into it. I kind of boxed all that stuff up when I went to college, and then I had it in storage for a couple decades. But then when I had my daughter, I was like looking for kind of a chill, relaxing hobby again. And when work slowed down here, I saw on Reddit there was a post for like looking for painters. Like, oh, I kind of know how to do this. Let me see how do I get accepted. And the studio that I'm working through now is based in Detroit, and it's called CB3 Studios.
Cool.
So contract them to paint like armies for Warhammer, or display pieces, or like if you're doing any kind of a tabletop board game or role playing game where you need like figures to represent things, then this company has like 8 or 10 painters that they kind of farm things out to.
Oh
That's
wow!
awesome.
So they ship you like the miniatures, and then you just paint them and send them back.
But photography is a part of this too.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah, explain more.
when they interviewed me, they were like talking about the cost of like the customer goes online and buys from them a kit, and then they designate how much detail they want for that kit. It gets sent to the painter. The painter then finishes it, and if they can't take professional photos, they have to send it back to the studio where it gets photographed for client approval. And if the client doesn't like it, then they got to send it back to the painter at the painter's cost for shipping. And so I was like, I can take my own photos.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
But actually, it's been cool because I've been like learning how to do macro stuff and like how to photograph fluorescent paint, which is very different than what we do.
Yeah. Do you mind explaining macro for our audience? Because it's a term that is often misunderstood, but it's an important one, especially for miniature work.
Yeah. So like close focus figures, making sure that you, like for example, if you're taking a picture of a row of like 20 figures, like 3 rows of 20 figures, then you need to know like camera settings so that you have your f-stop all the way down, and then some good lights, and then a lens that can get you there, can like hold the whole distance. So actually I did a little bit of training for the other painters at this company on the camera settings, because when I started posting my pictures in the group, they were getting positive feedback. Like, how did you do that?
That's great.
Yeah, they had been doing things, I think, like taking pictures at different focal lengths and then using software to like blend them together. But to me, that was very obvious that they had blended together different focal lengths.
Yeah, well, that's some of the we're seeing AI kind of replicating multiple things that aren't the same as what we know we can do in reality, and I think that's one of the advantages of having the skill of photography and understanding perspective and how to use those tools in a real environment.
Yeah. And I always like separated these two things. I just compartmentalized, like, oh, this is a hobby, and, it's a separate art form. But that's kind of crazy because in my career, I've learned so much about how light and color and focal points tell stories. So that applies to these figures, and they're having us do things like creating light effects and light angles, soft or hard light looks just with paint on a 3-dimensional surface. So then when I photograph them, I actually want it kind of very different than cinematic lighting. I want like flat kind of product photography, because the flat light coming from the direction of the lens, it shows accurately what the paint job is. But when I started photographing in the beginning, I was doing like hard backlights and stuff like I like from
Was that difficult to rethink not only your lighting but thinking of it in terms of the surface that you're putting the paint on, right? You're recreating what looks like lighting under a flat lit environment, which is really pretty amazing.
It is kind of mind blowing when you see some of the work that these other painters do, where they, that the picture is taken in a light box or like a really soft flat light, and they've created like super high contrast and shadows in areas. So I'm learning how to do that kind of thing, and we'll do something like in the beginning when we're setting the undertones for the figures. We will look at it under a desk lamp and look at like, oh, what's the best angle of light to hit this thing, and then that angle becomes the angle that you spray your airbrush highlight, undertone. And then you just try to remember, as you're going through the process, like, okay, all my highlights are coming from this side.
So you're almost doing like a lighting rehearsal.
Yeah.
Siri wants to chime in. Hey, come on.
Are you, Aaron, do you take inspiration from anything specific? Like, this sounds very much like stop motion animation and kind of the miniature world of that. Were you teaching yourself, and like, where are you like picking up hints or tips and tricks?
Well, YouTube is a good teacher now. When I was learning how to paint in the 90s, we didn't have that kind of stuff. So like I would just go to like hobby shops and ask questions or look at magazines and try to get tips. And I don't know how technical you guys want to go on like the paint level, but like there's this technique called dry brushing. Are you familiar with that?
No.
So it's like you wet the brush, water, right? You wipe a little bit of the water off so the brush isn't soaked. You put the brush in the paint, and then you wipe off most of the paint off of the brush. And then you just drag the brush over the textured surface, and it only picks up the highlighted, the highest ridges, right? So dry brushing allows you to create, like a highlight, basically like a quick highlight. And when I found that, when I was like 15 years old, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, And then I learned about creating washes, which is basically watered down pigment, and it's better if it's like an ink or something that's higher saturation. But you could water down any kind of paint, and then you're kind of doing the opposite. You're touching the brush into the crevices, and then the paint just runs, like it creates shadows to like run into the depths of all those things.
Wow.
And so those were like my go-to magic tricks, for getting like my just regular family viewer, my mom or whatever, to be like, wow, it looks beautiful. And I submitted pictures of those to get the interview for the studio. And what I heard in the interview was, yeah, I've seen a lot of dry brushing and washes. Is that true? And I'm like, yeah. Well, and I was like, I don't know, where is this going,
Right.
And he's like, yeah, we don't really do that here. And I'm like, you just like took away my two things that I thought were like my skills. But then they pushed me a lot farther, like to do other kinds of things. So now I'm doing things like thinning paint down like crazy thin, so that it's like the consistency of like milk.
Wow.
So it's super thin, so you'll never see like a brush stroke on something when the paint dries. And then we'll put like 5 colors. Like if I'm doing like a superhero with like a muscles showing or whatever, I'll do like gradient up from the shadow color to the next level mid-tone, and then to the highlight, and each time getting smaller with the surface area. So you're creating like a of shading in there. And it's cool. You can like put things into the figure that the original sculptor didn't put on there.
Right. Wow. Do you find that your imagination of like, or your memory even of what light can do is a big part of being able to do the airbrushing, the way you're creating these things that aren't there and like you said, aren't even necessarily a part of the original miniature. So you have to have that understanding of what's possible, what light can do on a subject, because then you're putting it into a flat lit environment in order to photograph it properly. So it's all coming from you're having to put it all into that piece of art. It's very interesting. It's like a blank canvas in a way. That's really impressive.
And the first thing that we do usually is like you're saying, make it into a blank canvas. So even if they cast the figures, a lot of them are plastic now. Most are plastic. When I started, it was all metal, like pewter and stuff. But now they're all plastic, and sometimes the manufacturer will cast them in the color of that faction, you know. So like all these guys, they normally have red capes, so you just cast all the models in red. But we don't use that color. We start with a blank slate. We'll just go, okay, I want the deepest shadow color on this thing to be like, you know, a dark purple or something. So you'll just go prime it in black and then dark purple, and then you start working your way up to the actual colors from there.
How many layers do you usually use on a figure?
It depends on the detail that the client wants. So if they're doing like a tabletop army, like a Warhammer army or something, it's a real slog to paint those things because it's, you know, like you spend 4 hours painting belts or something, you know.
Right. Wow.
It's I've learned to not do that. Like it's you get a sense of accomplishment if you like pick 5 figures and like I'm going to do these guys today and just finish them. But sometimes they will not want a high level of detail on them because they're just going to be a tabletop kind of figure on a movement tray where there's going to be like 10 other guys. So in that case, we try to make like the underside of the figure all shadow so that, you know, it doesn't have to be all the details under there. But a lot of my, like Danny was asking about references and stuff, inspiration. One of my goals when I started this was to get to be good enough to paint box art quality. So like I was using the manufacturer's images of their, you know, finished figures as my guides. And I got there, I overachieved on a couple jobs, and the owner of the company, the studio, called me and he was like, "Hey, so you know you're setting a high standard now because you're painting a higher quality than the customer is asking for. Now they're always going to ask you to do it. And I know you didn't spend 1 or 2 hours on this thing. It looks like you spent 8. Is that right?" Like, he's like, "Okay, but now we know you can reach this level. So now the challenge is going to be dialing it back." And that didn't make sense to me when he said that, but he was totally right, because if I get asked to paint something at like a low standard, in my mind it's like breaking my brain, like, oh no, but we need like the details there in the sculpt, we need to highlight that piece. It's weird. I guess in the film business it would be kind of like lighting a scene with only one light, even though you have a truck, but you're using only one light because the client only is paying for one light, you know.
Right.
Like, wrong, like we know how to do this better.
Right. Well, and I think that's important to know how to kind of have different, be able to achieve different standards and feel good about them, and have your own kind of your own internal standard within those ranges.
Yeah, because for me also, I want to be able to photograph them and put them in a gallery. I started a new Instagram just for this little, you know, side business. It's called Marquette Paints.
Nice.
So and I, you know, if I'm putting them on my gallery, I want them to look good too. So there's been a few that I've painted and they've gotten approval, like client approval, but I didn't put them online because to me it's like I could have done better on this, you know.
Yeah. What advice would you offer to somebody looking to bring their skills from one creative sphere like you did into another one, like painting?
Probably don't compartmentalize, you know, like it's hard for us sometimes to think of ourselves that way. Like in the film business, it feels like a trap, I think, that like you can't get out of sometimes. Like, oh man, I looked at these job requirements for another thing, and I don't qualify for any of them because I've been working in film for so long.
Yep.
But like, I think a good recruiter would tell you, hey, let's talk about what you did on the film sets and let's translate that language into something, you know. And for me, as I was saying before, it took me a little bit of time, but I'm now like realizing that there are a lot of skills that I learned in film that are applying to this side business. You know, client expectation is one of them. Like making sure that you ask the right questions and you get the right references to get the quality that they're looking for. Advocating for yourself and your, you know, your own value, time management. Because for me, this was a hobby in the beginning, so I didn't know. Like they asked me to, before I interviewed with them, to paint to my highest quality, like standards. This was back in December, and time myself, and I'd never done that before because you just wouldn't do that on a hobby, you know.
Right. Yeah. Putting yourself on the clock is it's hard to do because you're starting to realize where you maybe take too much time for yourself, and it is about creating a product for a client. That's really good. Also, just not compartmentalizing. I think that's really, really valuable. I mean, that's partly what this podcast is about, finding ways to kind of break the barriers between different things and start to see how they connect. It's great, man. I'm really, really excited to like be able to talk about this specific craft and skill that you have, because it is so similar to lighting for film. And I think that sensibility is really, really valuable in so many other ways that are hard to see when you're stuck in it.
Yeah.
And Aaron, I just gave you a follow. I'm looking at your pictures right now. These look amazing.
One thing that Aaron Smith was telling me was that I should put some kind of reference next to the photos so you can see what size they are. Like I should put like a couple.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because he didn't realize when I showed him the pictures that some of them are like, most of them are like 1 inch tall.
That, which is even crazier to be able to paint detail on such a small thing anyways. That's great. And I love that you do add reference to the like animated superhero or.
Yeah. One of the first things I did when I started with this company was I joined their Discord group, and I asked the other painters on there for advice because I was like not afraid of being the new guy, you know. I don't have an ego attached to it. And they gave me a couple of good tips, and one of them was this app where you can upload a picture and you can use a color picker, and it'll tell you like what color is in that, you know, the reference that you uploaded. But in this unique niche industry, this app has every single paint color, even discontinued ones from every brand. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, and it'll also let you compare them and stuff too. So I can take things like, okay, let me look at the marble art for this figure and let me figure out what blue actually is.
Oh, cool. What's your favorite Pantone color?
Pantone. I don't use Pantone colors.
Oh, they're different. Mine's FF44796. That's my
gosh. I don't know that.
It's such a vibrant color.
The Viridian something.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this skill and, you know, just how they intersect too, because it is you mentioned earlier mental health, how we can recognize the things that we're not maybe appreciating in ourselves and the things that aren't necessarily being appreciated by the industry that we're in at the moment. There's still other opportunities in other ways, and finding that can be really tough, and it can take a lot of soul searching and a lot of, you know, maybe I mean, clearly a ton of education and advancing your skill set, but recognizing that it's there is really impressive and important.
And I'm actually like excited to be in my late 40s and still learning new skills,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that get feedback from strangers. You know, that's kind of a weird thing, like to think about. Like I could not be working in film and just be like at the same desk with the same tools and be beating myself up. Like, why don't I have work? What am I gonna do just here in my little space, focusing on my little hobby? But finding a way to like turn it into a little bit of an income generating thing, and also trying to learn is it, I think, also a theme of your podcast too, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
There's so much more to learn.
thanks, Aaron. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us. So interesting to like dive into that world that I've never seen before. And good on you for like pivoting and like taking a hobby from the 90s and using it now and during a time when it's slow, and then, you know, and but hopefully like things pick up and you can still keep doing both. So
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely. And if our listeners want to follow you, can you repeat your Instagram and some of the ways that we can look at your work?
Yeah, so it's at Marquette Paints, and that's just my name, which is probably in your show here already. And it's on Instagram. And then if you wanted to go through the studio, it's CB3Studios.com. And I think the difference in the two of those is like some people aren't comfortable with like contacting a painter that's not represented by a studio, which makes sense. Or if they have like a really big job, like we have a couple armies that we're working on right now for Warhammer competitions, and they'll just like farm out like, you know, like 30 guys over here and 10 guys over here to different painters around the country, and then get them all painted up quick. So that's another reason to go to the studio. But if you go to the studio, make sure you mention that I sent you, because I get them. And if you, yeah, and I mean, and I make more if you go directly with me. So it's benefits to both.
Very cool.
perfect.
Well, thanks again, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. All right, everybody. We will talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you heard, subscribe to Scene Change wherever you get your podcasts.
Tune in every Tuesday and check out our Instagram at Scene Change Pod.